to make money. It takes ambition, belief, and courage to make money. You don't need money to make money. If you did, we wouldn't have nearly the amount of success in today's society that we have. You know, there's more millionaires in this country than ever before, and a majority of them came from poverty. A majority of them came from poverty. It doesn't take money to make money. It takes knowledge, it takes wisdom, it takes ambition, belief, and courage to make money. You got to remember that. It takes money to make money in real estate. So if you're looking in real estate, stop looking in real estate if you don't have money. If you think you're going to get rich in real estate, it does take money. It takes a little bit of money to get rich in the stock market. It doesn't take money to get rich in network marketing. It doesn't take a lot of money to get rich in other areas of business, but you have to have the wisdom and the knowledge to know where to look. There's no financial literacy taught in today's society, and so because of that, people just assume, I don't have money, I'm just destined for poverty. That's a bunch of bull. It's not the case. You can get very, very rich if you have people who have done it and can show you how to do it. It takes wisdom to make money. The other thing is this, Danny, I don't know the people. Danny, you have great mentors. Your 4 mentors have made $100 million. Well, of course, you're on the path to riches, but I don't know those people. I didn't either. I lived out of my car for 6 months to meet them. I moved across the country to a different state and lived literally in my car. I have pictures of my bank account being negative. I have pictures of my bank account being 48 cents, $2.22. I have pictures that I took because I wanted to document the journey. It doesn't take money to make money. You don't need to know people. You need to meet people. Anybody can meet people. If you don't know people, I do. I'll introduce you. If you don't know the right people, I do. I will introduce you to the right people. You know, there's 2 things you need to get very, very, very clear on in life. And this is what I've learned from my mentors. This is one of the very many things I've learned from my mentors. There's 2 things you need to get exceptionally clear on in your life. The first one is, what is it that I must have? What must I have? What must I have? The other thing is, what must I have no more of? See, because there's a lot of people who they know what they want, but they don't know what they must have. Or maybe they know what they must have, but they've never come up with a standard of what they must have no more of. When you make a decision that I must have no more of going to work and being told when to clock in and when to clock out and when I can spend time with my family, once you decide I must have no more of X, of Y, of Z, I must have no more of having to check my bank account before going grocery shopping, I must have no more of, you fill in the blank. Figure that out. What I've found is so many people don't know what their passion is. They don't know what fuels them. They don't know what fires them up, but they've been doing the same thing for years. What I would tell you is change what you are doing. I didn't know what I wanted out of my life, so you know what I did? I tried a bunch of stuff. I tried every sales job under the sun. I tried every people position under the sun. I did everything out of my comfort zone under the sun because I didn't know what I wanted, so what I thought was a good idea was figure out what I didn't want. I didn't know what I didn't want. I didn't know what I wanted, so I was like, well, it's a lot easier to figure out what I don't want than what I do want. So I started doing stuff, and I started doing different jobs. I worked at country clubs. I worked at gyms. I worked at car dealerships. I did door-to-door sales in solar. I did door-to-door sales in Chicago for AT&T U-verse. I built a health and wellness company. I did all these different things and so many other things. I worked at a grocery store. I worked in the union doing asbestos abatement in a nuclear power plant. I did so many different things, and what I was able to take from every single one of those things was a nugget. I hate this about that. What I hated when I was working in a nuclear power plant and I had to show up at 6 in the morning. I had to wake up at 4:30 a.m. and I had to bust my ass for 12 hours. My freaking shoulders, my back were destroyed from this job, and I was 18 years old at the time when I was in the union. And you know what I realized? I realized something very, very important, that it's not worth sacrificing my health for any amount of money. I learned that at a very young age. And so here's what I learned. I learned, okay, here's something I hate. Here's something I don't want. I don't want to sacrifice my body for money. Okay, check that off the list. So I know I don't want to do manual labor the rest of my life. Okay, I worked at a grocery store. I know I don't want to make minimum wage the rest of my life. I don't want to live in poverty the rest of my life. Okay, check that off. I did car sales. I hated freaking car sales. Oh my gosh, did I hate car sales. You know what I learned? I don't want to swindle people out of their money the rest of my life. I don't want to operate out of a non-ethical basis for the rest of my life. Okay, check that off the list, right? I did door-to-door sales. You know what I learned with that? I learned that I love people. I learned that I'm great with people. I learned that I love helping people. I learned that I have to have my heart in something for me to excel, because I was top 5 in the nation when I was doing door-to-door sales for AT&T Uverse in Chicago. What I learned there's a million things I learned there, but one of the things I learned was that when my heart's truly in something, I can dominate the marketplace. They flew me to Cancun. I flew out to California. I went to Atlanta. We were going to go open up an office in North Carolina, but what I realized also was that I didn't want to do door-to-door sales for the rest of my life, so I quit. And I went and did something else. I went and bartended. I went and bartended because I wanted to get a feel for, when you work in bartending at like country clubs, you get to be around wealthy people. I wanted to get around wealthy people, right? And so what I learned about bartending was that I love serving people. I love being of service to people, but I don't want to serve them alcohol. People go to the bar usually because they're celebrating or they're sad, one of the two, right? And so I realized I don't want to do this the rest of my life. So here's my point. I say all that to say this, guys, is if you don't know what you want, start doing different things. You have to do different to become different. You have to do different to get different. You can't get different doing the same thing you've been doing. It's common sense, but like it blows my mind that none of this basic stuff that everybody should know, none of this is taught in school. 97% of people, statistically speaking, aren't going to learn this from their parents, because 97% of people don't make a lot of money. So if you don't make a lot of money, you can't teach somebody how to make a lot of money. Therefore, you can't download the philosophy of the wealthy into your kids if you don't know how to do it. So you got to get around people. So that's what I learned. All of these different things, this is what I learned. I need to get around people who are freaking rich, not just in their pocket, but in their mind, in their heart, in their spirit, right? In their physical man. I needed to get around people who were rich in life, in every area of life. And that is why I moved to California. That is why I lived out of my freaking car for 6 months, to get around a man who spent his life pulling the gold out of people, who spent his life developing people, developing the king and the queen on the inside of people. I knew I needed to get around somebody who could teach me how to do those exact same things in my life, guys. And this is what I'm saying, is that you have to do what you don't want. Figure out what you don't want sometimes in order to figure out what you do want. And so if you don't know what you want out of life, I would suggest you start doing something dramatically different in your life and start checking these boxes off the list. And eventually you're going to get very crystal clear on what I must have. What I must have. There are no excuses in 2018 for not getting disgustingly rich. And why do I talk about getting disgustingly rich? Some people don't like the fact that I say that. Let me tell you why. There's no nobility in poverty. You cannot help a single other person get wealthy in their life if you yourself are poor. You want to help bless other people? Get very rich so you can spread the money around. It's really hard to help people out when you have nothing yourself, when you're a beggar, when you're begging, when you're on your knees begging for something. It's hard to bless others when you feel cursed. That's why I talk about getting ridiculously wealthy. That's why I talk about indestructible amounts of money. Is because when you have all of it, you can give it away. You can bless so many other people when you have a lot. If you don't have a lot, you're gonna act out of a beggar's mentality for the rest of your life. Is this making sense to somebody? Am I speaking to somebody? Is what I'm saying making some sense to somebody? Because I'm just speaking out of my life. This is just content out of my life, things that I've learned from my own experiences and being able to be around people who have the things that I want. There's no excuse in 2018 to not have what you want, guys. You can go on Google and figure out probably 50 ways to get rich starting right now. And here's the thing, none of them are going to happen overnight. It's going to take you a decade to get rich. But you got to pick somewhere to go. That's why I picked network marketing, because if you haven't seen my last video, My Pyramid is Better Than Your Pyramid, go watch that video. It talks a little bit about why I choose network marketing, why it is the best business model on the planet for wealth creation. Go watch that video if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, go watch it again because it's pretty good. if you're going to get rich, pick a platform that is abundant and effective and efficient to get the things that you want. You can literally Google how to get rich and there will be 50 options. The problem is people don't have the discernment to pick the right one. They don't have the discernment to pick the right people to partner with. And that's what all of this journey that I've been on has been able to do for me. It's given me the discernment. It's given me the wisdom to be able to pick out the right people, the right product, the right company, the entire itinerary that I need to be on the path to wealth. My process has taught me all of those things. And so if you guys feel lost, if you don't know what it is you want, if you don't know what it is you don't want, talk to me. I'd suggest talk to me because I can help you. So this is just some things I wanted to get off my chest. Last thing I want to talk about is just the fact, this is a totally different subject, but it just popped into my mind. It's on my heart, and I want to share it, is the fact that I think young people get a really bad rap. I think young people get a really bad rap. I hear so many older people talking about how millennials are entitled and they're this and they're that. Who do you think made us that way? If you have a dog that misbehaves, is it the dog's fault or is it the parent's fault? If a dog's misbehaving, it's because it wasn't taught the right thing to do the right way. Same thing with a kid. If a person is misbehaving, if a person is entitled, where do you think they learned it from? Probably the parent, okay? A lot of you aren't going to like that I'm saying this, but it's the God's honest truth. You have to understand that back in the Great Depression, when the kids were being raised in the Great Depression, they were taught, it was programmed, it was embedded in their mind. Lack mentality, poverty mentality, there isn't enough, keep what you can, right? That was embedded in their mentality. So they raised their kids out of that disposition. Those kids, the baby boomers, right? The baby boomer generation, most of our parents are still operating out of that exact same disposition. They're still operating out of that same age-old mentality. Go to school, get a good job, right? Because that's what worked in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 40s. Go get a great job at a factory. Go get a really good job. That's when pensions were actually good. That's when retirement was actually a legitimate option. That's when it actually worked. Like you see people who are 80 years old, 85, 90 years old who are living on a great retirement. It's because that worked back then. It doesn't anymore. That system is absolutely fundamentally broken. Yet it's being hammered into kids' minds every single day in our formal education system that is operating out of an age-old mentality of go to school, get a good job, and retire. Listen, retirement is not going to be the same for my generation as it has been in the past. I don't believe Social Security is going to be around. I don't believe it's going to be here. We already saw in 2009 what happened when the economy collapsed, that people lost over 40% of their 401ks. Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. That's what happens when you put your faith and you put your future in somebody else's hands. You don't have to do that in 2018. If you're doing that, it's because you either are willfully, ignorantly choosing to, or you honestly just don't know that there's another way, and there is another way. There's many other ways. Network marketing is not the only one. It's the best one, but it is not the only one. Right? There are so many different ways to change your situation, but it takes not only a great mentor, but it takes a willing student. It's one of the biggest problems that I've seen. Is that there are great teachers out there, but very few people are willing students. Very few people are able to come to the table and drop their humility. So many people are unable to check their humility, their pride at the door. People bring their egos in, and that will literally block you from growing, from learning, from winning, from everything. Ego will block you from everything. It took a lot of humility to live out of my car and ask somebody, can you teach me? But you know what? It has paid off. It has paid dividends a million times over already. My goodness. All the people on my team, all the people in my Viseo family, all the people on my team are a direct result because I had the courage, I had the ambition, I had the belief in myself to go out and live in my car, to